were built out after World War II. A lot of young families who moved in here because of our school system. Those people who own those houses now are in their 70s, and they're beginning to sell those houses. The people who are buying them are another influx of young families drawn by our school system. With the development coming in and concerns about growth and development on the one hand, concerns about the loss of diversity on the other, we did see some more conflict, some issues being raised. Those of us who've been doing it for a long time began to look around and say, wait a minute, things may be changing in ways that we don't feel good about. And that's what brought us to Roundtables. There's got to be a way to get more communication, more conversation going about what we value in the community, what we want to continue to keep as we move forward.
So the community was ready to talk, and I think the city leaders were ready to listen to what we had to say, and there was a matter of how do we communicate with each other. And in the groups, you had a limited number of sessions, so you know it wasn't going to be a 12-month commitment. You also had facilitators who weren't going to let one particular person or topic monopolize what was going on, and it felt very open.
Before the start of the Roundtables, Agnes Scott College and the adjacent historic neighborhood found themselves in conflict. Agnes Scott needed to grow. The historic neighborhood feared that its growth and the presence of a new parking deck would adversely affect their community. It was in the context of this conflict and the other conflict in the community, the conflict in the schools and the election of our superintendent, the conflict over the redevelopment of the old Scottish Rite Hospital, that the Roundtables took root, where conflict was seen not as a negative but as a positive.
And I was very, very glad in our first kickoff meeting to see many types of people, because it wasn't just a young urban people who were moving into Decatur. I mean, you also had older people, you had people with kids, you had people who didn't have kids, you had gays, straight, black, white, mixed. It was just a wonderful environment, and we were all invited to the table.
There were a lot of passionate people in this community, and we knew that if we could find a table big enough for folks to sit around, that we could create a community where all of our values were honored and respected. What was most significant or memorable to you in terms of a person, an event, an experience, and just jump in wherever you are?
The opening session was very energizing. One of our staff people said to me afterwards, you know, this is the first time we've been in a room of 400 people and they weren't screaming at us in 5 years. And you know, we're both sitting in the back of the room going, now when are they going to turn around and start, you know?
To be able to compare the two ways of a community dealing with issues and talking to one another is really made it even more powerful.
That was a massive set of energy. If you were at that opening session, there was a lot of, and it was positive energy. And then attending your small group connected you back on the kind of the micro level.
It really exceeded my expectations. I thought the facilitators were excellent. They did a really good job of not only making sure that somebody didn't monopolize the conversation, but they did a really good job of pulling out people who might be inclined just to sit there and listen.
There's probably about 8 or 9 people in this room that I did not know before then, that some of them lived very close to me, and when I walked, just like Todd, we were just talking, I've stopped to talk to him, didn't know who he was, he didn't know who I was, but I think it has probably bridged a gap. You stay right next to your neighbor. Mary lives around the corner. I think you live on Jefferson Place. I mean, so it's really, I think, done its job in that sense, to get people to really speak to each other that live in the same area that never ever even talk.
And we're doing a whole lot more than just sitting next to each other and making some pretense of breaking down. We are breaking down the walls. And if we can do that here, certainly we can take that outside this room into the rest of Decatur.
So just respecting each other, listening to each other, acknowledging the differences in culture and backgrounds, I think that this whole process has helped to open up that, and people feel a lot more comfortable in talking with each other.
If I think an intersection needs a stop sign, if I think trash needs to be picked up, I no longer say they should do something about that. I realize that they is me, and I have a voice, and you and this forum really displayed that, really lived up to that. To say, if you have something you want to do, here's a place to get it done, here are the people to talk to, and there's no they anymore. And now when anybody else makes that comment, and now if you attune yourself to it, you'll hear it 10 times a day. They should do something about that. And that now they has a name and a place to meet. And it's not a challenge to be heard, so you can't complain about it.
One of the things that we have begun to do is to build trust. Sharing meals, sharing conversations, sharing goals, so that when the next thing comes up that we may be in conflict about, and there will be things, at least we will know each other. We can start with a goal in mind instead of a position.
The precedent of sitting down together across all kind of lines has been set, and that will go a long way for the future of Decatur.
Community-wide study circles programs like Decatur continue to bring diverse voices to the table to create innovative solutions to the public issues they face.